I will never understand why Netflix would take the working model of giving us all the episodes of a streaming show at once so we can binge them all, and instead have turned to the breaking it into parts 1 and 2 shtick that they've been doing now without any consideration whatsoever about the effect it has on the pacing of the story. What am I saying? Of course, we all know why they're doing this. It's profit. It's always about that evil and vile capitalism. And now that it stretches non-thin hands towards Wednesday, it has, of course, meant that whilst I count down the days to September 3rd, which is when we are finally getting the second half of the season, I can instead spend my time working my head into circles with theories about what possible arcs the show has for its characters and how everything might come together by season 2B. I mean, what else can we do whilst we wait? Now, before I go into the rest of the video, happy birthday to me. For those who remembered and sent me messages, or maybe you choose to drop birthday wishes in the comments of this video, I would like to say thank you. I honestly can't think of anything better to do with my birthday than talking about Wednesday Addams, who has always had a special place in my heart since I first watched the Addams Family show back when I was a child. Of course, Tim Burton's Wednesday is a different flavor of Wednesday that Jenna Ortega is putting her unique spin on, and which I happen to really enjoy watching. And although the show does sometimes spend a lot of time focusing its attention on other characters, I will admit that I will always have a fondness for the titular character of Wednesday, particularly with regards to her character arc in the new season. Because before season 2 dropped, I'd already posited that the season was most likely going to focus a lot on the changes to be had in Wednesday's relationship with her mother, especially as it pertains to how Wednesday's choosing to utilize her psychic abilities, which are quite different from Morticia's. And whilst that is indeed something that the show has spent the first half of the season showing us, I personally don't think that that is the length and breadth of Wednesday's character arc for the season, because I am of the opinion that whilst her fraught relationship with her mother is entertaining, what is actually driving her story this season is the very core and important question of, will Wednesday give in to chaos? Now, I know some of you are probably confused or shaking your head at the statement. How can I say that Wednesday's story would center on whether or not she would be willing to give in to chaos when everything about Wednesday has always been chaotic from our first introduction to her in the first season? But the thing I want everyone to ask and consider is, has it really though? Character design has always been a way to communicate and tell us more about a character than just, this is what the character wears and looks like. And with Wednesday's character design, it is clear that she's someone who can be quite strict and demanding and exact of herself. And that reflects in how she carries and presents herself. Yes, the Addams family are a mad bunch, but Wednesday, from her collars to her tightly woven braids to the exact and punishing way in which she applies herself, is someone that is quite given to order. She demands that things be a certain way and work well within the parameters that she set for herself. And that is what has driven a lot of her interactions and character actions that we've gotten in the show. Hell, even the way in which she devotes her summer vacation into delving into Goody's book and applying herself to learning everything there is to learn about her psychic abilities, with the goal of having a good handle and control over said abilities, speaks to how Wednesday Addams as a character is an agent of order who demands it of herself and her abilities and from others. And we see this reflected especially so in her music. It is why she clashes with the new music teacher Isadora Capri, because Isadora's call to Wednesday with regards how Wednesday needs to fully connect with her music and let go so that she can bring it to the height of which it is possible is something that clashes with Wednesday's own philosophy. Isadora's call is for Wednesday to lose herself, because it's in letting things go and be as they should, in not being so insistent on controlling it all, that she can have a true symphony and completion of sounds. But it's an idea that Wednesday utterly rebels against because Wednesday Addams is a control freak. And asking her to give up control of anything is tantamount to demanding that she cut off her limb. She can't do that. And yet she has to. As to me, that is most likely the core of what her character arc is meant to be this season. It's similar to what Morticia has been urging her with regards to her power, to not be in such a rush to figure everything out, to instead just lean into it and wait for her new spirit guide to show up. But waiting is not something that Wednesday is willing to do. Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering how on earth waiting can be tied to Wednesday's need to embrace chaos for our arc in the season, when waiting gives us a sense of orderliness, of following through on certain norms of behavior that dictates that to wait is to not be disruptive. And chaos, as we know, is disruptive. So how on earth is waiting the same as embracing chaos for Wednesday? Well, it's because there is no fixed time to that request. Like, let's ignore the fact that we've seen season 2B's trailer and have an idea of who Wednesday's new guide is. As far as Wednesday is concerned, she has no idea who the person is, but most importantly, she has no idea when the new guide will choose to show up. To wait indefinitely for Wednesday Addams is to have things pile up in the eaves, making everything messy and complicated, affecting all her other plans until it is all a disorganized, unrecognizable mess while she waits for God only knows how long to get an answer. For anyone else, waiting might bring some order to the chaos, but for Wednesday, waiting merely disrupts her tightly controlled plans and doesn't leave room for her to be able to execute them in whatever way in which she deems fit. And this also applies to her actions in episode 4. Now, leading up to that, Morticia's suggestion and urging to Wednesday is for her to wait, to not be so quick to rush into things, as there is a chance that Wednesday, in doing so, would probably make things so much worse with her actions. Wednesday, of course, is unwilling to listen to her mother, and to be fair, I can understand why. There's the fear that Enid would be killed if she stands by and does nothing, especially with the avian outsider targeting her best friend. And there's also the fact that she believes that unraveling the secret behind Lois is what is needed for her to get the answers that she absolutely needs, and to do so, she needs to get in somehow to save Uncle Fester and get said answers. An answer she most certainly gets. Augusta Stonehart's daughter, Judy, is the one behind it all, as due to her father's Lois experiment, she, who was initially a normie, was granted powers that turned her into an avian outcast. This revelation is outside of Wednesday's expectations, and she and Uncle Fester decide to take the gamble and fry the hospital's power grid, which lets loose all the outcasts who had been detained in the Lois secret bunker and all the patients at Willow Hill Psychiatric Hospital, including Tyler, who's already expressed his firm desire to make sure that Enid gets very dead very soon. And after killing his master, which, if the Eyed lore is to be believed, means that Tyler's forsaken his humanity for good, Tyler sends Wednesday flying through a window, hitting the ground with a thud, which most likely is going to send her straight into a coma, after which he escapes into the night. A situation that automatically means that Wednesday, in her desire to control the outcome of things and bend them to her whim in order to avoid the tragedy that she had foreseen in her vision, has unwittingly set things into motion that would bring her vision into reality, with forces hell-bent on killing Enid after all. I think it's a very nice touch for the story to give Wednesday psychic abilities, which have often been more of a passive ability, where those who can see visions of the future are careful about how they navigate said information, of course, in order to try and avoid making everything so much worse, whilst at the same time being aware that they cannot control the outcome as they would want. And yet, to give something that passive to someone like Wednesday, who absolutely must control the situation, means that the season will be one focused on Wednesday having to come to the realization that, just like Isadora had urged her at the start of the season, and her mother had warned her before she went on the mission that ruined everything, she has to learn to let go and see where things lead and what the possible results could bring. But for that to happen, there's a need for Wednesday to be humbled by the lesson that although she is smart and intuitive and gets things done, her actions are also quite capable of destroying her plans, all to teach her the very important lesson that she doesn't know everything, contrary to what she might believe, and that there are things and forces that exist outside of her purview that no matter how hard she tries, she cannot control them. And to force it, however, would lead to very disastrous consequences. But at the same time, chaos is born out of order. Just as order rests within chaos, and the outbreak of the Loy subjects and the Willow Hill psychiatric patients, including one very pissed off and about to go on a murderous rampage Hyde, make for quite the chaotic turn for Wednesday, whose actions is what has brought things to the point at which they are at. And I do think that season 2B will focus quite heavily on Wednesday, learning to go with the flow of things whilst making headway in a way that is uniquely Wednesday, i.e., she's going to find a way to blend beautiful chaos with order and embrace both to serve her aims and objectives. But of course, that is just me and my thoughts. I would, as always, love to hear yours. What do you think could possibly be Wednesday's arc this season, and how do you think the show intends to tackle it? Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Like this video if you watched this far and haven't done so yet. Share this if you want. Support me on Patreon if you can. If you cannot, however, then do consider checking out my other channels. One of them is my gaming channel where I've put up all my gameplay videos, and the other is my ASMR channel. Both are linked in the description bar if you are so inclined. Whichever the case may be, though, I will see you tomorrow with a new video. Until then, do remember, obsessing over the things you love, perfectly valid coping mechanism.